You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now, we have in the studio the Director General of Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies, Ilorin. That's Comrade Isa Aremu. He joins us to talk about the ASU strike at the moment. Well, thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
It's a pleasure to meet you. This is my first time of being at this prestigious studio.
You're welcome. All right. Well, the discussion about ASU strike is not new anymore. For those who grew up in Nigeria and went to public universities in Nigeria, you do not need an introduction for what ASU stands for. We've been seeing the strikes happen on and on, over and over. Since 2009, over an agreement that has been had since that time till date. It has lingered for quite too long. And some are saying that perhaps we should look at other alternatives to this, to ending this. ASU has always accused government of not, implementing agreements, had with it. And then we've had other voices as well who said, well, government cannot, meet all the demands that ASU is making. So are they that difficult to meet up?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I think as you put it, it can only get better within the education sector. But the good news is that at least yesterday we got the signals from both the federal minister, the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, as well as from ASU leadership, that they are now willing to resume negotiation and talk. Why I said that it can only get better.
I mean, these talks happen almost every year.
No, but
do they have to?
No, but the reality now is that ASU had declared strikes, another strike, which possibly is entering almost the fourth day now, depending on what time you are counting. And ASU had given notice to go on strike for 1 month, which they call warning strike. So what I'm saying is that
do we have to keep waiting for ASU to declare that they are going on strike, and then we resume talks?
Let's get there. What I'm saying,
rather than just implement the discussions that have been had.
Excellently. What I'm saying here is that I think we should look for the resolution of the crisis at hand. That's why, I share the views you expressed in your opening remark that we have come a long way in these endless stoppages, strikes, closure of public universities. But the good news, because for me, where you have negotiating parties who disagree and they are not talking to each other, that's far more dangerous. And I was quite worried too, to say for the next 1 month, if ASU is not engaged, we are going to have just one strike for 1 month. You can imagine what the real strike will look like. So I'm happy that the Honorable Minister of Education had said they are eager to meet with ASU, and ASU has also reciprocated. I think I listened to the president of ASU.
What I'm talking about, can we consider this
as
we cannot,
a good news? You see, but
is it a good news?
No, certainly.
Because we've been having this over and over.
No.
Like, each time ASU say, okay, we are going on warning strike, then we hear government say, oh, let's meet and have a discussion.
Precisely.
And then that discussion will be had. And then there will be no implementation. And then the next time they go and then embark on another strike. So
I think, let me put it this way. I think what we have in the education sector, and I think to some extent it's also applicable to the health sector, we have a crisis of collective bargaining. And I think the work relations in the education sector needs quality control. I think we have to make the point that relations at work can always lead to disputes, will lead to disagreement, but it's work relations, it's not war relations. It's not war relations. I was looking at the last canteen. As at last year, ASU has gone on strike for 50 months. Since Nigeria returned back to democracy in 1999, 50 months. In fact, on the average, out of every 5 years, ASU has gone on strike for 1 year, closure of universities. I think that's quite worrisome, and as I've argued in another platform, it is the children of the poor that suffer more because they are the people who go to public universities. Don't forget we have a lot of private universities now. So as you shut down public university, private universities are working. So what I'm saying here is that we need quality control of collective bargaining of work relations in public sector, and that means the point you are raising. The two parties have to come together to realize that we can have disagreement, but we should get them resolved. And the first thing is there should be respect for sanctity of agreement. When you enter into agreement with the unions, in the case of ASUU, you must be able to respect the agreement. But agreement too is not that sacrosanct. It's important to do so, but when the economic situation changes, you can reopen negotiation for you to relook at the discussion. And I guess this part of the issue they are discussing. Okay. Then on the part of ASUU too, I think it is clear. I have a lot of respect for ASUU. It's a strong affiliate of Nigerian Labour Congress. Don't forget that I used to be former vice president of NSC, and this is a union that's come a long way. I'm very sure it's a lot of pain for lecturers to also declare strike with the declaring now. In fact, in those days, it was unthinkable for you to see lecturers going on strike. These are eggheads, so something is fundamentally wrong. But they too must also have a relook at their method in a way in which, regardless of the disagreement, we must make sure that students, we look at the plight of the student, we look at the side of education sector. And I think that's why I said I'm excited now that the two parties are about to come together. But and I think what they need to do is that there should be mutual respect, there should be mutual understanding. The minister said he doesn't even know they've gone on strike, which means possibly there's no proper notification. You can see there's still communication gap. You can't disagree with somebody you cannot even...
But they declared from last year.
They've been saying it for a while.
No, I know. Going to embark on a strike if they don't see implementation.
Absolutely. I know that very well. Not even only that, the interreligious agencies.
Exactly what I wanted to talk about. What has
really intervened. So everybody knows this public knowledge, but there's now that mutual suspicion. I think should give way now for mutual respect and proper understanding. Let me tell you, collective bargaining is about formalization. Am I communicating? Government should be able to call ASUU through formal writing. ASUU should be able to give proper notice of what they intend to do, the fixed meeting to where it can be done. It's not something you do through, talking to each other through the media. Well, it's important. Media must report what is going on, but they can only report formal understanding that they had together. So what I'm saying here is that it's time for us to have what I call quality control of negotiation process. There's been so much of motions without real movement. And as I've said, almost since 1999, we have closure of university for almost 50 months.
But the students now seem to be the ones at the receiving end.
Absolutely. Not just the student, the nation as a whole. Don't forget that, you can find out yourself. Look at the ranking of universities in Africa. Only very few Nigerian universities are ranked among the first 100. And yet, this is a country that in the 70s, in the 80s, I went to public university. Our universities were among the top 10. So we need to look at those bigger picture. We brandish the figure up and down, about 10 million children out of school. It's going to be sad, for whatever reason, that we had undergraduates to that number. And as I'm talking to you now, University of Benin students, they're out of school, they're on the street for whatever protesting. So I think those are the things all the stakeholders will look at.
Do you share the idea that government cannot meet the demands that ASUU is making, especially financially?
No, all those things will have to be looked at the negotiating table. And I think from my understanding, ASUU is also eager to look at those issues, relook at them. In fact, what I heard from the Honorable Minister, they're even talking of renegotiating that some of those things they've entered, items they've agreed upon in the light of the new reality. But if you also ask me, it's about commitment. First, government must rededicate itself to funding education the way it should be. And I think President Muhammad Buhari has shown that commitment at the level. We've moved to the 2022 budget is almost about 8% of national budget has moved. It's devoted to education. compared to what we used to have about 4-5%, you know. But even that one is still far from the ideal. I mean, we should be talking of a sizable number of IGDB to education, you know, but this will not come unless we discuss at that level. But even with the best of funding, am I communicating? There will still be some challenges. Take some of the demands of ASU. They talk of not being part of the IPPS. They want their own, what do you call it, university. They have a new system which they are proposing to IPPS, which for IPPIs. They have a new proposal. You know, those are things that
that's
you need
the
to
University Transparency Accountability
You got the point.
Solution.
University, yeah, UTAS, you know, University Accountability and Transparency system which they are developing. Those are issues that we can discuss at the negotiating table. Look at what the options are all about. Then I think they also talk of some of their members that are not being paid because they are not captured within the IPPS. You know, but not all the staff, all the academic staff are also not being paid. So we must also have a method to isolate those universities. Am I communicating? That so ASU members are not being paid, you know, so that you don't necessarily grant the entire university as we're already having now. But the good news, why I'm excited about development yesterday is that both ASU and the federal government, they've seen the need to come and to come back to negotiating table, which means all things being equal, we don't need to have another 1 month of warning strike. You know, this strike may end very soon, and it must end very soon.
Okay, now briefly,
because it's in our best interest that we have uninterrupted educational service delivery.
Okay, but some have called for an increase in tuition fees. Do you consider that as a way out to some of these
No,
issues?
again, maybe let me put it this way. You know, I don't think we need to crowd the agenda for now. My suggestion would be that once this dispute is over, I would like to suggest that all the stakeholders in the education sector, led by the Ministry of Education, you know, parents, students, of course, ASU, we need to have a roundtable discussion on how to fund and sustain our educational system. You know, it certainly cannot be business as usual. You know, I mean, it's about funding. There have been a lot of creative ideas. You know, we have TED Fund, ASU struggle for TED Fund, and to some extent, TED Fund has helped to really intervene to renew infrastructure in our universities. You know, but it's also clear now that for sustainable funding, we need to look for different options on how to get it wrong. But those discussions should come in when we have a roundtable discussion to get things done. But I strongly believe that we have to take education serious. I mean, we just have fuel shortage now. See the panic.
Sure.
Just for a few days. Now imagine to close down universities for 1 month, 3 months, you know, and as I told you, 50 months. Since 1999, that tells you the damage that we are doing to the future of education of this great country. And with education, we can't drive development.
Okay.
And I'm happy this government is also committed to that.
Okay.
All we need to do is to work together to achieve it.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming on the program. Because of time, we cannot go any further. We've been speaking with the Director General of Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies, Comrade Isa Aremu. He joins us to talk about the ASU strike. With that, we've come to the end of the program for today. Join us again for another time on the program tomorrow.
Yes. I'm Dasha and Hussein Usman. Thank you so much for tuning in.
And I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching. Bye.